Tuesday morning. The Grizz say goodbye for the summer and to the strangest year in franchise history. We're going to say goodbye to Mike DeCourcy. His last day today with us. We will go over the NCAA tournament, what he thinks will be the big storylines for next year, and a whole bunch of good stuff with our Hall of Fame writer from the Sporting News, Mike DeCourcy, and Fox TV and the Big Ten Network. Mike DeCourcy joins us for a final time at 10:10. At 10:30, Joe Dank joins us on the Business of Sports. We're going to talk about television ratings for men's and women's hoops, for the UFL, for a lot of different things, and the biz of the Masters. I will take Joe Dank to dinner, restaurant of his choice, if he can tell me the number that store on Augusta National Grounds, their souvenir clothing store, with all paraphernalia, the only way you can get a Masters shirt is to go through them. You have to be there to do that. What is their daily take? Because I am told that number is guarded like the hotline number that we used to have between the Kremlin and the United States. That's how hard that number is to get. If he's got that, he's got dinner on me anywhere he wants. So Joe's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. And the portal opens up today. The Tigers have already lost one. That'll be Brumfield, the defensive back, is gone. And there will be plenty more, I am sure, after the spring game on Saturday. I'll have a comment at that in the last segment of the show. So, yesterday, the Grizz said goodbye to a season that had 33 different rostered players. That's incredible. You start with 15, folks. 33. More than double what you normally would have. 51 different starting lineups. I believe that is an NBA record. Not a franchise record, that for sure, but a record all told. The Grizzlies end up 27-55, worse yet, and worse ever in franchise history, 9-32 at home. So for those of you who went to all 41 games, you get a round of applause. Actually, you get a standing ovation for me, because that's amazing that you hung in for all those games knowing that you were going to see Triple J and about that's it. Maybe a couple of other people on occasion, but you think about it. Triple J, I think, was the only person that started the first game and started the last game. He's the only guy on the team. That's incredible. The only positive, and I think this, because you've got to remember, there's numbers that are produced in every NBA game. You average 100 points a game. Somebody's got to give you points. You're going to get them. But it appears we have seen the emergence of two guys, one in particular that you really didn't know much about, and that's Gigi Jackson. And he has the potential to really be a great player. It seems he had over 40 in the final game. I think that was, 44 or 42, Zach? And it was a rookie record, was it not?
Yeah, 44.
44, rookie record. I think he has the chance to be a really good player. I do. Vince Williams, they're high on him. He is a good defensive player, too, so he's a two-way kind of a guy. He appears to be a legitimate rotation player. And I don't know, because LaRavia got all these points at the end of the year when he was getting minutes. And like I say, people are going to fill the stat line because they get minutes. And there are points scored in an NBA game. But LaRavia showed us stuff that I didn't think he had when the year began. Those are the only positives that I could see from this dreadful but crazy year. And honestly, you just have to look at that and say this is an anomaly. This is not going to ever happen again where you have this many injuries and these many 10-day contracts. It's just not going to happen again. So I think you write it off and you go, okay, maybe we found 2 guys that are rotation players. But is that enough to really be a championship piece? John Morant spoke yesterday for the first time, I think, in 4 or 5 months, and he said that he thinks they can win a championship next year. Well, here's what you got. You got Ja, you got Bane, you got Smart, you got Triple J, you got Clark. I don't think he's going to be a starter for you, but he's going to be your 6th guy, and then you've got to find a big. So I do believe if they do that through trade, if they do that through draft, however they find that big, that's going to be critical to how successful they might be next year. Then I do think you're going to have Gigi and Vince. Rose is coming back, apparently. What does that mean for Scottie Pippen? Would you rather have Pippen? I love Derrick Rose. You know that. And I'm so glad he's going to make Memphis his home. His kid is playing on, which is hard for me to believe because I knew him before he had a kid. But his kid's going to play for Ja's AAU team. I mean, it's nice. It's a great story, but can he play a whole year? I mean, I don't think the guy could play more than 5 games without getting injured. And that's just OLD. I hate to say it. That's what happens with age.
Yeah. But then at the same time, originally when they never said it, but in my mind, when they signed Derrick Rose, in my mind, he wasn't supposed to be playing this much to begin with because you knew Ja, Bane, and Smart was going to handle most of the point guard duties. It was not until Ja's 25-game suspension happened, then the injury started to kick in at the beginning.
But they knew the 25-game suspension when they signed him. I mean, he was supposed to be like, he didn't want to use, I think he bristled something. He said, I'm not a babysitter.
No, he's not.
But I do believe he was there because they didn't see after the 25-game suspension that Ja was going to hurt himself and play only 9 games this year. So
Right.
I think he was honestly there to sort of be the role model, an influencer on Ja. Does Ja still need that? Maybe he does. Do you keep Pippen as insurance? I think Pippen could be a really good player. I would really think that Pippen would be more essential to the overall success of this team than Derrick Rose at this point. But then again, we haven't seen Pippen when it really counted in critical games because Memphis didn't have any critical games this year. But when you look at that rotation, and there's more to come, what are you going to do with LaRavia? What are you going to do with Aldama? What are you going to do with Zaire Williams? You have to take all that into account as you try to figure out, is there enough there to be a championship team? And the first thing will be, what are you getting in the center? What's the big going to be? Is it a Steven Adams type guy that will be able to play defense, rebound, screen, be a leader? Is that the kind of guy you're looking for? You're looking for a guy that can score, that can step out. The kid from Duke, Filipowski, is he the guy? Edey, can you get him in the second round? I doubt it. I don't know what you do with Edey because we heard his agent, who will be with us on Friday, Andy Schiffman, say he thinks he's going like 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there. You're not going to use him with that lottery pick, I don't believe. So we'll have to wait and see on all of that. But those are the questions today as the Grizzlies have exited for the summer. Mike DeCourcy is going to join us here in a minute. We're going to put the NCAA and college basketball to rest for a while. He is brought to you in part by, well, he's brought to you every week by Memphis Tourism and the Memphis Sports Council. In fact, little inside baseball for you. We're meeting today, the Memphis Sports Council and Tourism and the board on the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame. Our next class about to be inducted. I'm not sure of the date. Usually it is in the fall. And I don't know if it'll be at AutoZone Park like last year or at the convention center, the Renaissance Convention Center, where it was 2 years ago. I mean, it's always big time and very high class, honestly. The great thing is, I'm meeting with them today to vote on that Sports Hall of Fame, and they are innovators. They conjure up things, whether it's sports, entertainment, whatever it may be, to fill hotel rooms, to make sure that the economic machine with tourism that Memphis is, no question. Beale Street and Graceland and museums like the Civil Rights Museum, all a part of tourism. And they come up with ideas for sports. Look at what we have now with the Memphis Sports Event Center at Tiger Lane. All these things are lobbied for and acquired through the good graces of hard work like Melvin Gibson, J.J. Greer, Katie Ligon, Kevin Kane. These are the guys that are part of all of this, and they bring you Mike DeCourcy each and every week. So we head to a new location. Mike DeCourcy, our Hall of Famer. Can we say where you are?
Absolutely.
We are now in Mars, baby.
See, you didn't realize how big time I am that I moonlight as an astronaut.
There you go.
No, Mars is a northern suburb of Pittsburgh, PA, and that is my new home area.
I must confess to you, I had never heard of Mars, Pennsylvania. I've heard of it's what Calipari's place, Blue Moon. Yeah. So
Moon, just Moon.
We
There's
like
no blue.
astronomy in Pennsylvania. Obviously, we got Blue Moon. Now we got Mars with you. So I Googled it today, and I find out it's 25 miles north of Pittsburgh. Is it hilly? Pretty?
Oh, it's very nice. A lot of. It's a very nice suburban area. My sister-in-law actually grew up here, and that's why my brother bought a house here about 10 years ago or so when he retired. And actually, when he was still working, and then he retired a few years ago. And then so when we were looking for sort of a low maintenance type deal, town home, patio home, something like that. And that's what we found here in Mars. So it worked out great.
All right. So you get to go home. That's a great thing for you and for Deb. Congratulations on that. All right, let's get down to it. Have we got a dynasty in Storrs, Connecticut? 2 in a row. Actually, total domination when you think about it. I believe it's 12 straight tournament wins by double digits. That, I didn't think could happen in this world in this day and age.
Yeah, it's really amazing what they've done. And what they did, in addition to breaking that record that you mentioned and the single-season margin of victory, which had been owned by the 1996 Kentucky Wildcats, which is the greatest team of the modern era of college basketball, the expanded bracket era, whatever you want to call it, starting in 1985 when we moved the tournament to 64 teams. No one had ever won by more points than the Wildcats. And then this team comes along, and all they needed to win the title game in order to break the record was 3 points. And obviously they won by well more than that. But even more impressive than that, Dave, is the fact that from last season's team, the NCAA champions of 2023, they lost 75% of the scoring from that team and came back and won it again, and honestly were better. I mean, they were a number 1 seed. Last year's team was a 4. This team only lost 3 games. I think last year's lost 6 or 7. It was a dramatically better team relative to the season anyway. And I think that what they achieved was astonishing.
How did he construct this team? For instance, you just said 75% of the scoring from 2 years ago left. This year's team was even better. Last year's team lost 6 games in a row, so they had to lose more than 7 games, I think.
Right.
How did he build this? Is there transfers? I know it's Klingon and Tristan Newton. They were multiple-year guys, right? So,
yeah.
So they were in the program for a while. How did Danny Hurley put all this together?
Okay, so it starts with if you look at the roster. What also is impressive about it is that you said multiple-year guys, but multiple in their case is 2, as was the case for Alex Karaban.
Yeah.
So no one on this team that started in the title game had been with the program for more than 2 years. Caravan entered as a freshman. This is where, having a productive talent base, people think it doesn't matter anymore. Well, Donovan Clingan grew up 40 minutes tops. I'd have to do the drive, but 40 minutes tops from the UConn campus.
Right.
He was born in Bristol, and he became a great player. Alex Caravan, a Massachusetts kid. The biggest program in the area is UConn. I mean, Boston College isn't insignificant, but they're not a basketball power, haven't been, if ever, for a very long time. And so UConn is a natural there. They went into the portal last year looking for a point guard, and they settled on Tristan Newton from East Carolina, who you probably called a few of his games. And he became, and honestly, a part of their struggle last year was Tristan's adjustment to high major wasn't smooth. Really, honestly, in the middle of February, people were still asking whether UConn had the point guard that could get them to the Final Four. And it wasn't just people like me. It was people like Dan Hurley who asked that question in the middle of February last year or the beginning of February. By the end of the season, they had their answer. And then by the end of this season, they had a first-team All-American. So that's the group. And then you had they went into the transfer portal for Cam Spencer, their shooting guard who played last season at Rutgers. And so really not a lot of guys that have been around for a long time. They weren't transfer heavy, but they were transfer influenced. But they defied the whole get old and stay old thing, because the only old guys that they had were Spencer and Newton. I mean, they were young at the power forward position, at the center position, at the wing position. Right. Steph Castle is only a freshman. So they defied all that stuff, which I had always thought was kind of a crock. It was a canard because it sounded good and because there had been successful teams that were that way. But what that ignored, the proclamation that you had to get old and stay old, what it ignored was that almost everybody was old. I mean, there were very few teams that were young. So lots of teams that were old were losing.
Well, the only really young team, and they lost a lot, was Kentucky. We'll get into that in a second. Yeah. So can UConn win 3 in a row?
Gosh, the problem that they have is that Castle and Clingan are gone for sure.
Right.
Spencer's out of eligibility, I believe, and I believe Newton is as well.
I think so too. Yeah.
So that becomes that's where the hard part is. Now, it's you can't say no because you don't know how many players will be drawn to come to stores to play for Hurley in the wake of the success he's had with these players. I mean, I don't know that anybody said the words Cam Spencer and NBA in the same sentence a year ago when he played for Rutgers, other than maybe, hey, Cam, you got a ticket to the NBA game? No, I mean, it's like that now. I don't think there's much doubt he's going to. I'm not saying he's going to be an all-star or what, but he's going to play in the league. He's going to make a roster. Clingan will be a top 20 pick. Castle will be a top 20 pick. Newton will play in the league. Again, up to him how long, how well, but he's going to play in the league. And so that's a lot to lose, but it's also a lot to sell. I doubt that they'll win 3 in a row, but I didn't think they'd win 2 in a row after Andre Jackson went pro last spring. He was the one maybe could he be a first rounder? Would he stay? He left, and it seemed like that hole might be a bit big to cover, but then they went out and got Spencer, and it turned out beautifully.
Let's get to the soap opera. Let's get to John Calipari to Arkansas, and the captain of the team you've already mentioned, the 96 Wildcats of Rick Pitino. Their captain was Mark Pope, and he comes to rescue the Wildcats. Wow, can't make this stuff up. This after, to my count, 5 major names turned down the Kentucky job.
Yeah, which is exactly what I predicted the night that John's departure to Arkansas became imminent. I went back to my hotel room after dinner, and I sat down and I wrote out, okay, Because I'd already started to see social media reaction. Make Dan Hurley say no. I said, okay, he'll say no. He's not coming. I mean, you don't walk away from 2 trophies. That would be insane. I don't care how much money they give you.
Did he turn down $100 million?
I think he probably turned down a ton of money. Yes, I don't know the number, but I'm sure he turned down a ton of money. But it would be bonkers to walk away from 2 trophies, and he was very smart to say no. It would have been. Would it have been more money? Yes. I mean, I think if you talk to Rick Pitino now, I mean, like I had a conversation with him not long after he took the Louisville job, and he basically said this was the wrong move in every way, but $50 million. That was, I mean, in so many words, that's what he said. And the words $50 million did leave his mouth. I mean, he did, that part I'm not paraphrasing.
Yeah.
That was, but now, I mean, the money is so significant wherever you are. I mean, I think in the end, depending on exactly the bonus figures, in the end, Dan will probably make $6 or $7 million this year. I mean, that's a lot of money. Is $12 million more than that? I'm not good at math, but yes, it is. But what do you do with it?
Right.
Does it make you happier? I don't think it would. I think that John's experience at Kentucky shows it almost certainly won't, unless you go out and win 2 more. And can you? Sure, he's a great coach. But is it automatic? No, this is college basketball. Nothing's automatic.
Right. And Cal was there 15 years. You know, the old saying, familiarity breeds contempt.
Yeah. I think that's probably what happened. If a lot of coaches had their careers impacted in significant ways by 2020. Arch Miller, Chris Mack. And in some cases, just bad luck. In some cases, how they handled it, was not the best.
Right.
In John's case, that 2020 Kentucky team had really figured a lot out. I mean, they were. I did a piece in February or early March of that year, before everything went to heck, about like what they were like in the last 8 minutes. There's never been a team that closed like them. I mean, they owned the last 8 minutes of their last 15 games or so, like no team's ever owned. I mean, it was absurd how dominant they were in the final 8 minutes of games because of that 3-guard attack had everything locked down. So who knows what they would have achieved? And then the pandemic, you saw it with both of the freshman-oriented teams. It was a disaster at Duke. It was a disaster at Kentucky. Kentucky chose not to forgive it. Duke chose, hey, he's K, we'll forgive it. Mm-hmm. So that's the way they wanted to go. And then, the Oscar Tshiebwe team loses to St. Peter's. And so there was no understanding of, look, he's a great coach. Some bad stuff happened. We need to fix some certain things and we'll be fine. But, there are a lot of different narratives that have developed around these last few teams. Were they freshman heavy? Sure. But they also had lots of veterans. I mean, they had Trey Mitchell. They had Antonio Reeves, the terrific shooting guard. They had Oscar the last 2 years. They had lots of veterans on these teams. They didn't lose because they were young. They lost because they had some bad luck injury-wise, because they weren't defensively proficient. I think Cal was still in the process of orienting his defense to the 3-point age, the 3-point heavy age. I don't think he had totally covered that yet, and I think it's still a work in progress for him. It probably would be helpful for him when I don't know what his staff is going to look like at Arkansas. And remember, it doesn't have to be an assistant coach even. In today's college basketball, you can have like 15 people if you want to pay them.
That's crazy.
So get the director of defensive strategy on the very far end of your bench. So anytime somebody is coming around a curl, your guys know to hedge it. Like when they played the Golke kid from Oakland, and he's throwing in 8 threes, and you still have Ugonna Onyenso playing drop coverage. When he's not supposed to, but that's what he's used to. So that's what he does, and instead of hedging that screen, Golke throws in another 3. If you hedge it, he has no room to shoot. When they finally hedged it, Trey Mitchell finally hedges one, he literally practically threw it into the band.
Yeah.
But if It was basic stuff. I'm sitting there watching the game. I'm not a coach. I do television analysis, so I know the game a good bit, but not like a coach does. And I'm watching this 3 after 3 after 3 come off these high curls, and I'm like, why are they not hedging this? And then I went and poked around in the locker room afterward, and I'm like, why did they not hedge it? They were told to, but they didn't do it.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Real quick, does Cal succeed? Does Pope succeed?
Well, Cal will succeed. He will. I think that I would be surprised if Cal retires from Arkansas without getting to at least one Final Four. And given that Arkansas has not been there since '95, I think that would measure success for them.
I agree.
They've been to the Elite Eight twice under Eric Musselman. I think the Frontier is the Final Four in somewhat the way it was for Purdue this past season. I will be surprised if he retires without having done at least one. Pope's situation is different because the bar is higher for them. They've made that clear. I don't think a single Final Four in the next 6 or 7 years is going to be a happy occasion. The one will, but they'll be immediately looking for the second. It's hard to know what the frontier is, what the future is for Kentucky, because we've seen them recruit 5-star guys over the past 2-3 years and not get where they want to go. So what do you need to get where you want to go? And frankly, that's a really difficult question to answer. It's one of the reasons why NATO's turned it down. It's like, okay, I'm here. They love me. They are paying me to stay. They're throwing money at me to stay. I know what I have here and what to do here. And I know that if what I do here doesn't work in a given year, they're going to say, do better next time. At Kentucky, they say, we want you gone. That's what happened in the last 5 years at Kentucky. They still had good teams, let's remember. They had a 2 seed and a 3 seed in the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And that wasn't sufficient to make people happy. And I understand that you're Kentucky and you're used to winning championships, but this is not 1952. It's different now.
Right.
There are more people playing and more people paying, both the coaches and the players, legally, and so it's different now. And what it takes to be great at the high major level, consistently great, I don't think anyone has the answer to that, Dave. Not even Dan Hurley. Well, if he does it for the next 3 or 4 years, then we'll know he has the answer. But he hasn't done that yet.
I like Pope because I think he's earned his way. We know he's smart. He went to 2 years of medical school at Columbia. He's just got to get guys. And Texas and Oklahoma are coming into the league. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Mike, I got a million other questions to ask for you, but we're out of time, so we'll have to carry this over till next year.
You bet. Anytime, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We always appreciate it. Congratulations on going back home.
Appreciate it.
Our Hall of Famer, Mike DeCourcy, brought to you by Memphis Tourism and the Memphis Sports Council. Quick break. When we come back, we get into the biz of sports with the one and only Joe Dank. Don't go anywhere.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
As the seasons change, so does the need for reliable home comfort. It's time to turn to the experts with Choates, where your family's comfort is our top priority. Right now, Choates is making it easier than ever to upgrade your home's climate control with our exceptional Carrier systems. There's never been a better time to enhance your comfort. Select from incredibly low monthly payments, 36 months no interest financing, or choose our $1,650 Cool Cash rebate instead and lower the upfront cost on select Carrier systems. It's not just savings, it's Cool Cash in your pocket. Low monthly payments, no interest financing, or Cool Cash rebates? Whatever you choose, you're choosing quality, reliability, and the trusted service of Choates. Call us today at 347-8086 or visit ChoatesHVAC.com to learn more about these incredible savings. But hurry, these deals are as fleeting as a cool breeze on a hot day. Choates, let our family serve your family.
Hey, Jason, my main man, Marshall, what's up over there at Gossett Volkswagen on the Pike?
Well, Randy, we know the one size doesn't fit all at Gossett Volkswagen, so we've got a take-your-pick offer that covers all the bases.
Well, everybody I know, including me, loves choices. So, Jason, what do you got?
How about a 2024 Taos S, 2024 Tiguan S, or a 2024 Jetta Sport? Take your pick for $279.99 a month. Plus 1.9 for 60 months on all Atlas and Atlas Cross Sports. Or get a brand new 2024 Atlas Cross Sport SE for only $33,988. And no reasonable offer will be refused.
Ask for Jason, the main man, Marshall at Gossett Volkswagen, 1875 Covington Pike, or online at GossettVWMemphis.com.
That's Gossett Volkswagen on Covington Pike, where we're charging forward and charging less every day.
All 36 monthly, 7,500 miles per year. Taos RMO 51756, MSRP 26063. Tiguan RM 103,910, MSRP 31363. Jetta RMO 48802, MSRP 25506. Cross Sport RC 236449, MSRP 38981. Includes $3,000 rebate. Cannot be combined with special APR. Includes all rebates and incentives. PS 695. Excludes stock final license. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month with approved credit dealer stock only.
Tyler from Wendy's here. The best part of Wendy's new Cinnabon Pull-Apart is every part. Unlike mornings, which have no good parts. Until now. Because with Wendy's new breakfast Cinnabon Pull-Apart, mornings finally don't completely suck. And now that mornings have warm cinnamon sugar rolled dough and ooey gooey frosting, are they the best part of every day? Probably not, but you get the idea. Get to Wendy's today and get the best part in every bite with the new Cinnabon Pull-Apart.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, Cinnabon is a registered trademark of Cinnabon Franchisor SPV, LLC.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
The Biz of Sports. And Joe Dank brought to you by Ken Garland. Ken Garland Custom Home Builders, third generation. Williams now in it. Oh, yeah. Here's the thing. And you'll be hearing a lot now from Ken himself and maybe William one day. They talk about the fact that, like other builders, they send people. Ken and his son are on the site every day. They're working it for you. And the other aspect, if you're ready to build that dream home, after it's built, if you've got any issues, they don't walk away. They stand by what they do. They are there to help you out, to move you in, to make sure everything's working properly. It's always a job in progress. That's the way they view it. And they've got beautiful homes that you need to see. Started with Ken Sr., now Ken Jr. It's over 70 years of Ken Garland Custom Home Builders, and you're going to get exactly what you should expect. Quality construction, on time, on budget. A third generation now. Go to KenGarland.com. You'll see what we're talking about. Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. So for dinner of your choice anywhere, we can go to the, what do they call it, the French Laundromat in San Francisco. Might be the highest priced restaurant in America. What do you think? What do they make in that souvenir shop on Augusta?
So you spurred me to at least get online while I was sitting here waiting to
did,
get online.
yeah.
Okay. What if I told you, according to a report in Forbes in 2022, but it's still cited now, so it's the most recent thing that's out there that I could find online in this short time.
Yeah.
$1 million per hour.
Per hour. Oh my God.
For 10 hours a day.
$10 million a day for 5 days?
7 days.
7 days. $70 million bucks?
They say $69 million.
Holy smokes.
Just for the week. Now, remember, it is the only place on the planet you can get the
master
shirt,
right.
hat, whatever. Amazingly, one of the most popular items is something called a master's gnome. It's a garden gnome. It's a little statue. It costs $49. People line up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get them. It sells out every year since it was introduced in 2016.
$49. What do you think it costs to make that? 3?
Probably.
It's incredible.
I don't think
the markup
they're not taking a bath on that.
It's amazing.
So you asked what you think the average guy spends going through.
Well, now we could probably figure that out because we know it's $10 million a day.
Exactly. But the interesting thing is there is a record of a single checkout. One guy went through, bought his stuff, checked out, $30,000.
I could see that.
I want to know what he used to get the stuff out of there.
Exactly.
I mean, what kind of
no.
vehicle?
Here's what he did. He had it shipped. You can ship from right there.
Well, there you go. Yes, he did.
That's how he did it.
Well, he had a container, though.
I swear to you, I've often, I even poked around. I was going, what do you think the average average guy spends, because you go in there, you buy 2 shirts, you buy a couple of hats, you're bringing stuff home for people. It's, what is it, $90 a shirt, whatever it is?
Yes.
I mean, it's not. I would say the average has to be $200-$300. The average,
easily.
And I would
that's
say
a single bag you can carry around on the course with you that day.
Exactly. And I would say 98% of the people, at least 98%. I'm not shortchanging this. Everybody who goes into that shop and buys something.
How could you go there and not?
I know.
Right?
I understand.
Yeah.
All right. Great that you got that quick. Incredible. So, we saw something in the last couple of weeks that I never thought I would ever see in my lifetime. And that is the women's college Final Four outdrew the men's Final Four on television ratings. That never had a chance. I've been covering women's college basketball with the old AIWA in 1971 in Carbondale, Illinois, with the Southern Illinois University Salukis, where they would draw 20 people.
Right.
Draw 20 people. To this, to Caitlin Clark and Iowa drawing these eyeballs in a championship game with a far better team, literally, in South Carolina. 18 million average, peak at 24 million. I never in my life could have dreamed that would occur.
It did. It did. And we all kind of saw it. It's the highest rated women's basketball game of any type in history.
Right.
And it was truly I believe it was a moment in time. And I think it was directly related to this just unbelievable story that is Caitlin Clark. And you said you never thought you would see it. It's likely, I think, that you'll never see it again either.
Really?
I just don't think this is sustainable at these monstrous levels. Does this mean there is a growing interest in women's basketball in general across the board? Yes. Does it mean that the women's title game will ever outdraw the men's title game again on television? It would again have to be some type of an amazing planetary alignment. You know, one thing that almost was undercovered, South Carolina has lost 1 game in 2 seasons.
Right.
And until they
3 games in 3 years.
Right. But the irony of the 1 game in 2 seasons is it was Iowa.
It was Caitlin Clark.
That's right. That's right. So here's the interesting thing. It's the all-time highest-rated women's basketball game ever. It's the second lowest-rated men's game ever.
Right.
And so, you know, the women's previous high title game was last year when it was 10 million. This year it goes to 18 million. Now, the men did 14.8 million the night after. But that's the second lowest. And that's a far cry, Dave, from a number that you and I have shared and discussed in the past.
Right. It was only a 1/10 of a point, by the way, from the lowest.
Right.
The lowest was 14.7 the year
Which
before.
Was last year.
Right.
So first of all, there's a trend for the men's game, and that is the last 2 are the 2 lowest rated.
Right.
Secondarily, think of this. So they're both in the 14.8, 14.9, 14.7 range. The all-time highest men's rating ever, 35 million.
Oh, I thought it was 38 million.
35, 38. I mean, it's right there.
That's the Bird Magic show.
That's the Bird Magic, 79. But, so while the women were up 80% this year from last year, which was against the, if your previous best, you're plus 80% the next year, positive trend line. If your last 2 are now less than half of what the all-time record is, you might have a concern on men's basketball,
well,
yes?
You know what? I think Juju Watkins could be the next big star. I mean...
Could be.
Can she draw the kind of magic if she keeps on winning and scoring at USC that Caitlin Clark, can that become the next America's darling? I mean, I could see that happen. There are so many people that I know. Now, some of them are older people because that's who I tend to know.
That's right.
Right? Who have gone, you know what? This reminds me, the women's game now reminds me of the men's game 20 years ago when it was more teamwork and fundamentals than just athleticism and above-the-rim stuff. And I like that game better, and I think I'm going to watch more women's games. You're not buying it. I see by your face.
I'm not. By the way, I agree with everything you just said. I just don't think that translates, because I also would say this. What you just described about the nature of women's play versus men's play really is nothing new right now. That's probably been something you could have said 10 years ago. It just has never translated before. And here's the success. Whenever you have monster numbers, such as the ones that the women's game has hung this year, it's not because basketball purists discovered this. It's because people are watching who never in their life would have contemplated watching a women's basketball game before. That's where the number came from. That's where these records always come from. There's always, it's kind of like that old line, the choir always comes to church, right? Hoopsters, hoop fans always watch basketball. How do you get a huge number? You get the fringe element,
right?
The people who are not necessarily interested. And Caitlin Clark seemed to be a huge magnet for a lot of people who were watching that for reasons that had not that much to do, frankly,
right,
with the fundamentals or the style of play of basketball.
Well, and she had a 2-year run here, right? I mean,
yeah.
So that brand and that story sometimes takes a while. 2 years she had for that to have this this peak at this time, which ended up being 24 million at its zenith. So the question now is, I mean, they sold 1,000 tickets to the draft, the WNBA draft. 1,000 tickets. It was unbelievable. And I don't know what kind of number it got on ESPN last night, but I assume it was pretty good. Every affiliate TV station across the country had a highlight of Caitlin Clark getting that number 1 jersey. Will this carry over to the WNBA? Will she raise the level of interest for that pro league?
Yes. Short answer, yes. To what degree, obviously remains to be seen. So last year, the WNBA averaged just over 500,000 viewers per telecast on all platforms of all national telecasts, okay? And there were over 50 national telecasts last year of the WNBA. So that bar's not real high,
right?
If it's less, just over 500,000 that watch. So that's going to grow. Are the Fever games going to hit some pretty good numbers?
Yes.
One would suspect yes. Now, will a game between the New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces draw a big number? Who knows? But you have the 2 best teams in the league, right? You have dominant players who've been household names to people who follow women's basketball on both of those teams. They played last year in the title. But who knows that?
Here's what I want to see. Diana Taurasi and Caitlin Clark. Because Tarazi's already said she's going to be a great player, but she's going to get killed in the beginning.
Right.
And Taurasi's going to be one of those that are going to try to kill her. That'll be kind of fun to see. It will be interesting to see because you're going to get initial numbers. How does this carry out as the season goes on? Let's get to spring football. UFL ratings, UFL attendance. I don't know if they care about attendance. It's all, in my mind, about TV programming. I've had this theory since the early days of the USFL, when you had a league actually trying to get into the NFL that was paying big money to get big names. That's not what this league does.
Nope.
Is there room for spring football? Do you need a breathing a period of time where you're away from a sport to really appreciate a sport? Or can the spring football league actually be a big success?
Well, the jury's clearly out, but there aren't that many indicators that this thing is going to be successful right now. I mean, this past weekend, there was not a single crowd of the 4 home games that got over 12,500 fans in the stands.
Was St. Louis one of them?
And St. Louis was not home this week.
Okay, so they're the only ones that
St.
really
Louis
draw.
is the only one who's drawn. In the first 3 weeks of the season, St. Louis has 1 home game. They drew 40,000 fans.
That's amazing.
I mean, they're drawing more fans than the 4 games basically did
Combined.
over this past weekend because they did not average 10,000 fans a game this past
Well,
weekend.
I went to the first Showboats game.
Right.
And I wanted to be successful.
Yep.
I forget what they said they had, like 8,000, something like that.
Yep, just over 8,700.
They had 2,500 people there, maybe 3.
Mm-hmm.
There were people that told me that when I said, because we were guessing in the press box, I said 2,200. They go, "You're out of your mind." that there's 1,000 people here. So I'm going to give them 2,500.
Okay.
Certainly not giving them 7,500 or 7,900, whatever the heck the number is. But is that really important to this league? This league is all about television ratings.
Well, it is, and here's an interesting trend. This weekend's numbers are not available, but in the first weekend of this season, they averaged just over 1 million fans per telecast. And remember, there's 4 telecasts over different platforms. ESPN, ABC, Fox, FS1 are the primary places where these games are being televised. Second weekend, they averaged just around 850,000 viewers per telecast. So that was a week-to-week fall-off of 19%. It will be interesting what happened this past weekend. You know, the first 2 weekends had some pretty good competition from NCAA tournament, both men and women, which we were just talking about. Now, this past weekend, really the only thing that was competitive on television was the Masters, and I don't necessarily see a huge crossover audience in terms of interest between the Masters golf fan and a United Football League fan. So this weekend, if you see further erosion in the average of these, then you're saying it might not be a big success in the stands, and now it doesn't look like it's being very big success on air. And those are the only 2 things really that count.
Right.
What else is there?
And you've got Fox involved in this. You've got ESPN involved in this. They're only going to go so long without numbers.
Right.
That is for certain. Speaking of which, how did the Masters do numbers-wise? Do you have those?
So we don't have the weekend on CBS yet, but the interesting piece, it started off well on ESPN over the weekend, and they had significant increases in the first 2 in the first 2 days. On Thursday afternoon on ESPN did 3.2 million viewers. That was plus 28% versus last year.
Wow.
So a big number, and that was the biggest Thursday since 2015. Then on Friday, it pumped up even more to 3.6 million. That was plus 69% over 2023. Now, here's what's interesting in these TV numbers, and I think you will find this interesting, and that is the PGA Tour, meanwhile, their TV ratings are suffering in early 2024 here. The Phoenix tournament, which is always a big one, down 35% this year versus the prior year.
I wonder why, 35%, jeez.
Arnold Palmer Invitational, another great big name tournament, right? Good field, great reputation in the tournament, minus 30%. The Players was down 15%.
You think that's because of the loss of star power with LIV?
Absolutely. I mean, that is, no matter how good the fields are in a tour event, you're missing key guys.
You know, I'm curious. I can't wait for you to, and we'll talk about this next week, the numbers that you're going to get on the Saturday and the Sunday, because they don't. Thursday and Friday included Tiger. Thursday and Friday included Tiger's quest to break the consecutive cut record, which he did. He was never in it after that.
That's right.
So that's still the biggest star. It's sad to say that a 48-year-old guy whose body is broken down is still your best star. And Scottie Scheffler, who's not the greatest player in the world, what kind of star power does he have? He is not the most charismatic dude in the world. His game is very charismatic, but I'll be curious to see what those numbers are like. Real quick, because I want to touch on this more. Your assignment for next week is understanding the NIL. And I had an interesting conversation with Penny. Penny says that in the end, he thinks Memphis will have the best budget NIL-wise of anybody in the American, but not nationally. And he thinks it's $4 million minimum to buy a national championship team. That's your budget. I think Arkansas I want to say they guaranteed $6 million to Calipari for NIL budget. So that's the benchmark right there, if that indeed is the case. But there is, like David Jones. How does David Jones get paid? Because he's not an American citizen. What's the rule here? And then we'll get more into this next week.
Well, my understanding in trying to delve into this a little bit this week is that in the case of either him or even Zach Edey, who's not a U.S. citizen,
right.
You know, if you're in the country playing basketball, you're doing it on a student visa. And the terms and conditions of a student visa do not allow you to in essence, become employed in generate income. So there is now some legislation being done, but this is at the federal level. This has nothing to do with NCAA rules or anything else. This is broader. I mean, I think if you're a foreign student studying, not playing basketball, but studying, I don't think you can have a job that pays you a lot of money because you're here under a student visa. So that's an issue. That is the first issue. As for the rest of NIL, I just continue to wonder as NIL grows and its influence grows, if that has something to do with the continued erosion of the viewership for men's college basketball.
Well, I haven't heard any person say yet, except a player, man, this is good. This is good for college basketball. Haven't heard anybody say that yet. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. We'll see you next Tuesday. We take our final time out. When we come back, I will tell you what you will not see at the Blue-Gray game on Saturday.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
You've been having a good time at Mugshots Grill and Bar in Olive Branch. Soon you'll be having a good time at a brand new Mugshots. Mugshots Grill and Bar is opening their first Tennessee location at 656 West Poplar in Collierville, where you can try one of Mugshots' 19 specialty burgers, including the Mugshot Burger. Finish it in 12 minutes and it's free, plus you get a free t-shirt. So cheers to great food, good drinks, and fun company at Mugshots Grill and Bar, where you're always having a good time.
It's the Dodge Power Shot Day's last call, and that means it's time to get your best deal at Gossett Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Fiat on the pike. Feel exhilarated in 2023 Jeep Renegade Latitude 4x4, $25,889 or $389 a month. And get yours before they're gone. 2023 Dodge Charger SXT, $29,969 or $459 a month. And during Ram Truck Month, get 2024 Ram 2500 Tradesman Crew Cab, $6,000 off MSRP. Plus 0% for 72 months on select models. So drive past the rest and come to the best. Gossett Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Fiat on the pike. Online, GossettMotorCars.net.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
All 75 months at 8.99%. Renegade Triple P 56520, MSRP 31095. Charger PH 651421, MSRP 36420. Ram RG 193,472, MSRP 65925. AP offer at 72 months, includes all rebates and incentives. PF 695 excludes tax, title, and license. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month. Approved credit, dealer stock only.
Challenging, purposeful, rewarding.
I was the only female in my class, so I call them my brothers to this day because they supported me, they helped me. Like, I couldn't do pull-ups. I went to the gym, we worked out together, so it was fun.
We have the unique opportunity as deputies of interacting with people at some of the worst and sometimes most transitional or pivotal moments of their lives.
Come join our team, become a patrol deputy with the Shelby County Sheriff's Office.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus of Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Around here at Wrangler, we are all excited for spring. The longer days, the warmer nights. When you've got your pick of shorts and jeans, either works just fine. Blue skies, open roads. Wrangler, for the ride of life.
A sound that flows into my mind. The echoes of the daylight.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Coming up Saturday, 3 o'clock, Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. It'll be the Blue-Gray game. Now, I'm not sure what we're going to see at the Blue-Gray game. You know, they're very careful with ones versus ones, twos versus twos. They don't want any injuries, but they want people to have fun. I'm not even 100% certain of what the format's going to be. I know they're going to showcase the arm of Seth Hennigan. You'll see 4 really good running backs. The wide receiver room looks pretty good. I'm interested in just seeing team speed on defense, but I'm really not sure what I'm going to see. Here's what I know I won't see. And no one is going to see this now until, when is the first Saturday? Is it first Saturday of September that we have our first games? Maybe the last Saturday in August for some teams, right? Here's what you will not see until right before that first game is played. And I promise you, you will not see a depth chart. The portal opened today, right? Already Memphis lost the defensive back in Brumfield. I don't know why he left. Doesn't matter. You're going to see a lot of that. But if you know, because you see it on paper, that your 3rd, 4th, 5th team, you know you're not playing. You're not going to be patient anymore. You're getting in the portal. So you're not going to see any of these teams. With the portal opening today, you are not going to see any teams publish any depth charts. That, my friends, has become a dinosaur of the sport of college football. This final slot on Wolo and Friends brought to you by your home team credit union, and for over 70 years they've been just that. Southern Security getting bigger. They've just broken ground for a new palace in Collierville. And if you're looking to turn your dream home into a reality, Southern Security is there to make sure that your home buying journey is literally a breeze. Contact them today. You can explore options and secure the financing you need for your dream home. They got a dedicated team ready to assist you every step of the way. They can make that dream possible with low-rate mortgage loans. If it's a first home, they're the ones you want to go to. 452-7900 or southernsecurity.org. They've been making dreams come true for over 70 years. They're your home team credit union. They are Southern Security. We're back tomorrow morning. Johnny Radio is right around the corner. Have a great day, everybody.